Into the Crypto Bunker podcast. I want to talk about Ethereum today, um, where we're at with Ethereum and what the long-term prospects are for Ethereum. I think right now, Ethereum is almost like the unutterable name of the crypto industry. Um, Even people like the Bell Curve podcast, if you would have listened to their podcasts from last summer or really any time before that, they really um, talked more about ETH, the asset, ETH, the token, being bullish on ETH long term, being more bullish on ETH than Bitcoin. And you can see that because they're a VC, they've been forced to now potentially change that position into more Bitcoin, into more maybe Solana, maybe other VC coins or fundamental coins. And they talk a lot about Maker now, Celestia. They sort of switch around, and that's how these VCs work. They switch the narrative. So the narrative was Solana, meme coins. Now you're going to start to hear the narrative be Celestia, data availability, and the thing is, these are all ways of getting you as a retail investor to buy into their VC coin that they got a good deal on that you can't get a good deal on, that you have to pay fees on to even buy it on Coinbase and things like that. So what they really won't talk about is ETH, right? They'll talk about Bitcoin because Bitcoin now, especially with VCs, is probably their biggest holding because they've just been washed out. They had to do it the past year or two. They had to get into Bitcoin in some capacity, even as a VC investor, because they had to be able to pay out their funds and their LPs, and they had to show that they were being successful and things of that nature. Um, but with Ethereum, we are in like a panic mode right now, with the price of Ethereum and the chart of Ethereum. And I want to show you the targets of where I think we could potentially go because I think we can go lower at this point. I don't necessarily think this is a bottom. I think it's a great long-term buying opportunity. Um, I think it's just an outstanding long-term buying opportunity, not financial advice. But if you zoom out on the monthly chart, and before I say this even, I will say Ethereum is sort of, to me, in my eyes, it is the most underrated crypto asset in the whole ecosystem. It's so early still because not a lot of people are really bullish on it. Not a lot of people are talking about it. Not a lot of people know how to even talk about it in a bullish way. I've heard some people say it's the App Store. So it's like the Apple App Store where you can like build apps and things like that. But to me, it's bigger than that, and it's you could say in my eyes, it's like the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq as an index. So with Ethereum, with ETH, the asset, you're buying the money of the crypto ecosystem. And when we start to think about AI agents, automation, technology, innovation, and things like that, um, it's all happening on layer twos and DeFi and all of the ETH ecosystem. But in all of those ecosystems, the money of those ecosystems, the collateral of those ecosystems, which is being washed away right now and will be picked up by the people who have a long-term vision of this. But ETH as the collateral of the ecosystem, as the money, think about like AI agents. If they want to build their own smart contract, you know, chain or so like DeFi protocol, or they're going to be using DeFi, they're going to be using these things or whatever. whatever the vision of that might be. And it's also a vision of people, by the way, like people like me, people like you. We can take possession of our own assets in our hands on the blockchain, on the internet, and then we can use that to get loans, to earn interest, to swap for other assets. Um, this is a revolutionary technology. And I think that people are so short-term biased and I think a lot of times the people who are talking about crypto are the people who are in crypto the deepest. And they're so far in that they actually can't really step outside and see what it looks like for a normal person. But this is such a revolutionary thing that we really just need to sell and talk about the basics of the technology. Peer-to-peer lending and borrowing with no middleman and low fees is insane. That's an insane revolution. And that's just one aspect. And so Ethereum, it's not only the platform, so it's not only the S&P 500, but it's like the dollar as well, because Ethereum is like a nation state. It's like network state. So ETH, the asset, gives you access to the entire ecosystem, just like the dollar gives you access to the S&P 500, right? So when you want to buy the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq as a foreign person, you have to access dollars first. And so ETH is like the next revolution of this system, of the US system as well. It's going to eat everything because the US and the rich people and the VCs and all these people and the government wants to outsource its debt and its technology and innovation to the world. It's time that the world can invest in S&P 500 24 hours a day. It will and should be tokenized. It should be tokenized. These banks, these brokers, and all of these people, and I'm not saying this is going to happen in the next 5 years because it's not, because the powers that be are so powerful. But the more the technology and the infrastructure is built to be able to put these things on chain, there's no reason why you wouldn't do it other than to just keep power and to keep the corruption going of, not having proof of reserves, not having, a guaranteed ownership. Because these stock ownership slips that they give you now are not real ownership. They are not. You do not own that stock. It's not like the old days. They switched the systems. You don't actually own that. Okay? With Ethereum or Bitcoin on the blockchain as the pristine collateral, censorship resistant, neutral blockchain, you have control. Even if it goes to $1, you own that ETH asset token. And the innovation is important. And I just want to just emphasize that I think it's way early. Like people say like, oh, 2021 was like the 2000 dot-com bubble with crypto or something like that. No, we are in like the early 1980s of the internet, basically. And so it is my opinion, and I'm not saying I will follow this exactly. I don't know if I'll be able to do it because it's such a volatile and sort of bullish asset class that like you end up wanting to, invest in other tokens and stuff, with your ETH, right? Or your Bitcoin. And I'm saying this about Bitcoin as well. I mean, with Bitcoin, I think we're a little bit farther along. It's kind of like a digital gold story, but it still could be like the 80s for gold, right? Or like the 70s for gold. It's just the beginning of the next revolution. And if you invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum and you do like an 80%, 20% weighting or something like that, whatever the market cap weighting is, you probably just equal that market cap weighting. Um, you will do well because one of those, if not both, which I think both will, they have a strong enough backing and a strong enough team and a strong enough ethos at this point that I just think long term, like 20 years from now, if you just dollar cost average into these, you never sell, you don't worry about the price going up or down. You just worry about the adoption. You just worry about, is this being adopted like the internet? And right now we can say that it is being adopted like the internet is being adopted. And maybe we can look at some charts just to zoom in. And I hope that this is visible. I can turn up the blue light a little bit. I'm not sure how this is showing. It looked a little bit dark to me. So um, yeah, I use the Iris app, which I can show you here. So you can control the blue light, you control the brightness, which is um, a great thing. So that's just like the best I can do, honestly. Even this like is blinding for me. So okay, so we're looking at ETH, the asset here. Long-term chart, monthly averages. Now we have a new average, a 100-month average that has popped up on Coinbase. And actually, I wonder, I think there's one even that is like earlier than these, like Kraken, I think is really early. So we do have this 100-month, which um right now is around 1390. That is about the lowest I can possibly see us going. I will show you in a minute a similar chart pattern that played out in the Nasdaq in 1981, 82. Or no, I should say it was later than that. I think it was like 86, 87. That is the same, that is a similar chart. And it basically came down and it corrected and it did the same exact pattern, except it came down to this level here. Okay. We have broken through the moving averages at this point. Okay. This is not good. Like we cannot, you cannot do that in a sustainable market. And I understand that, like, yes, this could easily get picked up here. This could be the Pico bottom. But when you're breaking through the lows of like the basically when the ETF was announced, it was around this time when we started to go up only, right? Um, so so yeah, basically we broke below that now. And it just doesn't look great. On the daily, you can see we're not even fully cross bearish yet into like a like real bear. But we will get there. We will cross bearish fully on these. It just doesn't look great. But I will say this easily could be the bottom. I'm not going to call that. But this is sort of something I look for. And if we look at this breakdown and we have an equivalent breakdown from here, that's kind of how we get down to that level there that I'm showing. I do not think we can possibly go lower than that because that would be lower than the 2017 high. I think part of the issue or part of the thing that I think about is like I think a lot of these higher asset managers like JP Morgan, Bank of America, all these people, they haven't even like hired Ethereum people yet, right? They probably hired some Bitcoin analysts, but they haven't even really formulated a strategy. And even the ones that have, like they're like not like fully there. Like they're just sort of trying, right? They're trying to put theses out there and things like that. It's not going to be perfect. but I just think that people are just, it's so early still. Like, I don't even think you can listen to most of these people talk about this, because it just doesn't make sense. So the Nasdaq, I'll show you basically where I think we are, and it's really right at the beginning of when the Nasdaq was sort of trading. Um, and so it was about right at the beginning. We can see um, this same pattern play out, and I'll try to do a bars pattern here, um, just to show this portion. Now we obviously know where it went from there. You know, up only about like 29x or something, 25x from this bottom to the in 10 years, which by the way, in crypto, 10 years is like 3.5 years if you count stocks being traded. It's actually even less. It's like probably like less than that because of weekends. But because it trades 24/7, that it goes faster. Like the time goes faster for that. Um, so yeah, let's look at this. Again, it's not the same time frame, but I just want to show the pattern if I can here. And it's not going to be perfect, but basically you can see, like, let's just look at it above this, right? So you can see basically that this here, okay, is like this here, okay? And then this here is like this here, right? And then we had a big crash down. Now, where did we crash to? We crashed exactly to that level there, which is where I'm showing you this exact level here. This is a huge level for ETH. And I think that right now we're on a one-way ticket to get there. And I think we need a capitulation, a full capitulation to actually just like liquidate everyone that exists um in the liquidation ecosystem basically. Um so yeah, so I think again, I think that monthly moving average, if you have loans or whatever, set your liquidation to definitely be below that. I personally wouldn't feel comfortable in a leverage loan above to get liquidated above 1,000. Um, we can also look at the 3 month moving average, which I did not realize was right where we are right now and where we're catching support. So that's big because it's really hard to break that. I don't think Bitcoin has ever, I mean, it actually did briefly break that 3 month moving average. Now I want to look at Bitcoin as well. So basically this is what I have drawn here is that I'm basically comparing this correction to this correction here. And we can look at how that looks. So if you look at that chart pattern, can you sort of see the similarities there? Can you see the similarities here in this long consolidation? And can you understand that this um, correction was right before the Trump presidency, right? So you could say like, okay, maybe is it this then? Because this is sort of when Trump was inaugurated, like in that circle area, and we kind of went through a chop zone. But to me, it's actually could potentially even be earlier in the cycle than people realize. Um, I'm also gonna real quick do this. I'm gonna compare this 2020 correction to the ETH correction here for Bitcoin. So basically, a lot of times when you take these assets um, and you match them up, they can look very similar, especially because they're like it's the same time frame basically, um, and they trade, you know, the same, yeah, around the same time. But you can basically see that, especially this latest sort of correction here, it it went basically, it didn't go the same way. I get it, but it crashed. It consolidated. It came up here, and then it did this exact pattern. And we can see that basically we're like right in line. If you try to match that up with this, we would again come down to that area that I was talking about. I don't think it will quite get there, but I wouldn't be surprised if again it got down to those levels. Um, so so yeah, Bitcoin, um, I think personally, um, is still in the infancy of the bull market, actually. Um, so you could actually sort of compare it as well to, let's see if I can compare this to here. Um, you could say it's like, you could basically say that it's like that part of the cycle. I know that it's a little far-fetched, but you can sort of see what I'm talking about. Um, it's not going to be exact, but basically what I'm saying is that, um, and we can just take that off for now. Basically what I'm saying is like this here was kind of this here. And you can see they're sort of bull flags, right? I mean, it obviously capitulated down in that one more, but it's kind of a bull flag. You have a pole, a flag, right? Pole, flag, first impulse, big sell off, and then immediate recovery moon, right? So, um, and then from there, basically we did, see if I can get that right. So yeah, from there, basically we went up and that's, I think those are pretty good targets. If this is not the end of the bull and the bull is still running, I think those are pretty good targets for crypto in general. So hopefully you got something out of the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.